Yeah, I am a creative genius because I have created a wonderful self in me, a wonderful identity for me. That's what I have done in my life. Therefore, I think that's the greatest of creativity to discover the wonderful entity that you have been given. I would say it is perhaps a little greater than understanding the galaxy and all that. That's all for the raw consciousness to feel some happiness, vicarious satisfaction about it. But that original happiness, original satisfaction of one's own existence, one's own blooming of the tree is really the mark of what I call creative genius. Okay, let's proceed. Okay, you are asking me what is the evidence that I claim I am a creative genius. Yes. Of course, I claimed it only to you because of our conversation. I don't want anybody to know. A genius is never concerned whether his geniusness is because of somebody else's certification. Of course, a genius is not aware of something called genius or something the other people think about genius. He does or she does things originally the way it comes to him or her. He trusts his intuitions and imaginations and visualizations. He has experimented with his own thought process and ideations. He has subjected himself to the crucible of life and reading and interactions and self-reflections, okay, without any fear. All right. So you are evidence. That's a good question which nobody normally asks. That must be an important question. It must be asked by everyone to everyone else, and of course to oneself. What is the evidence that I am a so-called, let us say, good individual? What is the evidence that I am a capable individual? If I feel that I am unique, what is the evidence that I am really unique? Okay, and if somebody makes a claim about himself to you, you can always ask, what is the evidence? Especially if you are meeting him first time, because you do not know. Because there is language plenty available. Anybody can say, I'm a teacher, I'm a manager, I'm a doctor, I'm whatever, you know. There's a title. You should ask for deeper evidences, at least in contexts where it is relevant. Okay. So evidences, I appreciate your question. Evidences. I can do a whole lot of things from calligraphy to painting. I have written beautiful poems and short stories and full-scale drama during my college times. Just by a single reading, never before attended the classes properly. Of course, I was an eccentric. Okay. I'm always an eccentric. In the sense that I don't live by the norms set by other people. And I'm not there to violate anybody's norms either. I think the greatest of ethics is not to intimidate, injure, insult, humiliate another person. One can do the whatever nonsense with oneself. One should do. Then only one will know how one's own inner self or that original self is responding to that. Okay? In the last class at Union Christian College, Alway, 1969, my classmates of that time would know. Somebody said, you attend, one head of the department, some top official of the institution, announced publicly in the class just before the study leave of the final year exam. Sundararajan, better not to write the exam in this college. As a student of this college, you come and appear privately next March, next season. Because that was one of the top colleges in Kerala State, Union Christian College, Alvi. And a person like me got admitted there just because of one of my poems, which I gave to the principal, acting principal, Dr. Baby, Dr. A.K. Baby. That itself is the evidence of my creative genius at the age of 17 or 18, whatever it is. Having passed the plus two by the fifth chance, I went to that Union Christian College just because of a coincidence, and I was so fascinated by the trees and the birds and the flowers and the beautiful looking girls. And I wondered about myself, why I was not there, why I am not here. That was the question. That's the evidence of my creative genius. And I just wrote a poem. I wandered in the campus for a whole night, and I fell in love with the campus, and I wrote a poem. Paper borrowed from Miss Susan Benjamin, the daughter of the principal, Professor C.T. Benjamin. Next day morning, I submitted that piece of poem to Dr. A.K. Baby. Standing there reading it, he looked at me and said, "You go home, bring with your things, and you're admitted here." And such a useless fellow I was. And I wrote the examination. I was first class, first rank in the university just by a single reading of all the books. That is my creative genius. Because all my background was like that. That's all. That's why. I never been to schools much. My father and my great mother tutored me with some of the parts of Upanishads and some of the classics of Indian Sanskrit tradition. So I had gone through much severe, dangerous forests of language and concepts and ideas during early childhood itself. Then whatever textbooks were nothing for me. And in fact, subsequently I continued to read almost all the Upanishads and the Vedas of India, the Tao of China, the Tibetan Buddhism, very seriously, deep and subtle and mysterious. Then the Zen of Japan and most of the thoughts on mind, matter and existence generated in the Western world, starting with what were taught by Socrates, Aristotle, Plato, Santayana, and Friedrich Nietzsche, and Goethe, and all that, and read all the classic novels also of Nikos Kazantzakis and Dostoevsky and all that. I told you I used to write short stories. My short story came in the topmost journal in Malayalam called Anveshanam at that time, 1968 or so. Somebody told me, "No, why don't you send one?" I used to write stories, and everybody knew. I just wrote a paper, and it would be a story. Somebody told me, "Why don't you send it to one of the magazines?" Then I chose to send it to the top-rated magazine, once again, named Anveshanam. That was published. The character's name was Radhakrishna and Padmaja. They were my college mates, and Radhakrishna only told me, or even Padmaja told me, "Why don't you write one for the magazine?" And I put their names as the character names in that short story also. And of course, I got second prize in All Kerala competition of short story writing. And that is over. I experimented one, I do it with all my fullness, and then go to the next one. I have mastered I Ching, the most complex method of predicting the future or trying to know the unknown, the I Ching of China. I have mastered what you call handwriting analysis, and on top of that, I have researched creativity and originality and discovery and all these processes for more than 30 years by my own inspiration. That is my creative genius. Not for anything. As you see, you can see the books here. These are all books read several times. They are all critical books. And above all, as an evidence you asked, I have 9 books published, printed. Every one of them is a unique and wonderful book, original books. They are. Some of the books on topics management. Someone who has read it said that if there is management in the future, it will be based on one book and one book only. That is named Organization Entelechy. Many people do not even know the meaning of entelechy. Unfortunately, that's the only one word which talks about realizing the potential and actualizing it in one shot. The meaning of that word entelechy is that. How to realize the original potential of the organization and the people. That's the topic. So it has a subtitle, Creative Manager, Genius Leader, and Taoic Process. I know, having reviewed most of the management books at a a beautiful library of Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad, and elsewhere. I have read most of the books, most of the great books in management, starting with Peter Drucker or Warren Bennis or Peter Senge, and all kinds of people. Because I was reading and reading only, I never worked anywhere, you know. After a so-called PhD from one of the top guides in India, Dr. Pradeep Khandwala, I never chose any permanent work because my work was my own design and setting and in my own process. I have, out of my management of understanding graphology, I have written the first ever book in the world, A Theory of Logos, how the logo of a company can indicate a part or sometimes the major part of its destiny. I am good at everything which I try to do. I can sing. I have already about 9,000 songs singing in Smule. All of them are 9,000 singings because I am not a member who invites songs. There are 3 lakh kind of recordings also, but that includes the number of people who watched their performance. That will be added to the total list of their recording. But my 9,000 plus records are every song I sang as a, participating in an invite. Okay. And I can write beautifully. I can talk the most complex subject in the world, enlightenment and satori, in much clearer, better terms, and much more so-called scientifically, than most other people whom I have read, including Osho. I can explain, clarify the doubt of somebody who has covered all these things in the world come to me. At least you will know that I have understood it. It is not understanding. It is not understanding. I have tested everything. I lived everything. That's why I could create one of the topmost methods ever possible called violin, variant, invariant, orbit linkage, intentionality network analysis, the full form of violin. And I know very clearly that that is the ultimate method by which the truth of anything, any entity, anything, any idea, any phenomenon can be absolutely explained and interpreted and clarified. Whatever I have written is wonderful, but violin is a method, a masterpiece method. I don't think any other method is greater than that. And as of now, I have the ultimate theory on leadership. I know it is ultimate because it is based on the ultimate, because it is based on nature process. So I have named it Nature Class Leadership. But I don't want to write it because the fate of the corporations and organizations and institutions and governments and individuals and families and units are in a decaying direction. So practically it is impossible. Practically it is impossible. 1 or 2, 3 enterprises, small enterprises can do it. One enterprise I am training Ameya Rajarishi to do. It is called Genius Choice Products. But because he is making only 1 or 2, 3 fundamental herbal items, not medicines per se, food supplements kind of thing. One named Dry Digest, it will facilitate the servicing of the alimentary canal, the most critical system. Another one is a product for eye problems. I am 73, I can even now read and everything clearly. I don't need specs. And it can also cure most of the illnesses. Then there is a, let us say, a mouthwash powder. It's not a toothpaste or a tooth powder. So just put a capsule size of material into the mouth, that much of powder, and just smear it all over the tooth and the gum, and the tooth will be absolutely free from any of the problems potential for teeth nowadays for people. And as of now, the ultimate evidence of my creative genius is that I am making Rasayanas. I have been able to be a servant of Dhanvantari and Susruta and Charaga and Sarangadhara. Rasayanas, nobody makes it. Rasayana is not like Chavanapras Rasayanam. Rasayanas are a specific domain of herbal preparations in Ayurveda. They are not for any illnesses. I have put another YouTube video about that, titled Sri Siddhamodam, where I am explaining what is Rasayana. It is only to service, to replenish, to redeem the original possible potentialities of the human entity. I am making that. And I am very, very thrilled about doing that. I never felt so thrilled even when I wrote some of the masterpiece books, including the wonderful book, The Mental Traps, covering data from 25,000 plus people directly collected by me. I did not feel anything. I don't feel anything about my books at all. In fact, I don't feel anything about whatever little wonders and extraordinary things I happen to do, or I ended up doing. But I am doing this Rasayanas, and I feel so grateful about it, so good about it, so nobody about it, so surrendered about it. I am just a remote servant of those wonderful, greatest mystics in the history of the world, the ones who created the Ayurveda. As an originality, creativity, enlightenment researcher, I say the Ayurvedic geniuses of India are the greatest creators. Just imagine, how can anybody understand the properties of hundreds and thousands of plants and the leaves and the roots, and taking 1 or 2, 3 or 20 of them and making some of them a powder, some of them a liquid, and mix it and so on and so forth, and give it to the human body, and it can regenerate itself, or it can cure most of the serious process illnesses. They could talk to the plants and the trees, like the butterfly could talk to the flowers. They could sense where is it, like the cats and the birds know where their destinies are. That level of people. And I am happy that I am a simple, a nobody kind of a servant for them, and giving it to some wonderful people who want to respect their bodies, who want to celebrate their existence, the only one existence, who do not want to resign from the beauty of life once they retire from their jobs, and once they decide that their time is over and just waiting for death. Okay. So are you convinced that I am a creative genius? Yes. Yes, I am. From other people's look. All these words are for other people to use. You ask any genius in the world whether there's a feeling called genius. You ask Sachin Tendulkar how he bats. He just does it. That's all. The other people are attributing languages to talk about it. That's all. That's good. Thank you.